Got Clay Henry setting up here in a moment. We got Robert on hold. Go to Robert on the phone right now. Robert, what you got going on? You're on halftime.
Hey, Phil, thank you for having me on. But check this out. I remember growing up in Oklahoma in the 1970s and the 80s, being from Fayetteville, and in particular Winslow. I remember cheering for my Hawgs in Oklahoma and getting beat down every year by the Sooner fans. God bless Lou Holtz, Ken Hatfield, and Frank Broyles for making this program what it is today. And I'm kind of like Clay. If it's on fire, I'm going to get some gas and pour some more on Texas Stadium, see it burn down.
Hey, Robert, appreciate the phone call. And Clay has gotten in with us at the absolute perfect time to hear about somebody's visceral hatred of Texas. Clay, how are you doing today?
I'm good, and I like Robert a lot.
I know you do. You know, you're not stoic, but you also separate your emotions from game and from the team, because, you know, at your heart, you're also an Arkansan, and I feel like there's a bit of a change in you, in your, I don't know, maybe it's the chemical makeup in your brain slightly whenever the Longhorns get involved in it. So I mean, obviously
you picked up on that, huh?
Yeah, you feel the same way that the fans do about Texas, and that's different, I think, any other portion of Arkansas Razorback football for you. It
is, and I pay attention to what the Longhorns do, even when Arkansas conference, and you know, it was a great day. Anytime I see, you know, the score at the bottom of that screen and Texas is on the wrong end, I was like, yeah, it's a good day. It's a good day to be a Razorback. It's a good day and I lived in Oklahoma for a while, and they felt the same way, and it was a common, you know, feeling. The Oklahoma State people, they hated Oklahoma more than Texas, but they did have a disdain for Texas as well. And I think that's just the way I was raised. I knew that that was the most important game of the year. It's the one that you were measured by. If you won, it was going to be a good year. Didn't really matter a whole lot of what else happened. I mean, Texas, you're probably going to beat some other teams too. But you could lose a couple of games, and if one of the games you won was against Texas, then it was a successful season.
Yeah. Now we've seen, you know, Missouri and Texas A&M get out of that league and join the SEC specifically to get away from Texas.
No question.
You know, what was
Nebraska too,
and Nebraska too to the Big Ten. So I mean, what was the feeling around the state and around Razorback fandom leaving the Southwest Conference for the SEC? Obviously, you had to feel a certain way about joining the SEC, but was it also like, all right, Texas, we're sick of you with you? Was that what the feeling was?
No, not exactly. There's some of that, but see, now, if you'll remember, Frank Broyles thought that Texas and Texas A&M were coming along, so it wasn't so much that you were leaving them. They were predicted until Ann Richards, the governor of the state of Baylor, politics entered the scene, and all at once you had things going on in the State House that made it tough for those schools to make that move. So it's, you know, the politics are different now in Texas, and they can make that move. But I think there's some feeling that, yeah, let's get away from them. But there was also some feeling, don't really mind them coming with us because the rules will be different. They're not going to dictate. It is one school in the SEC in Texas, nor is Oklahoma in that position to where they can control academic entrance, you know, requirements, which they did in the Southwest Conference in the Big 12. I mean, Texas, they knew they could get the top players in Texas. And so what they did is they wanted to have entrance requirements so high that it reduced the pool. They're still going the pool would be smaller. They're still going to get the top, and it's going to be some of the other top end players would not be eligible at other schools. So that they did things like that you just, and of course the Longhorn Network, we saw what happened there, where the revenue is not equal, and that ran off Nebraska. Nebraska didn't like the academic requirements either. But Texas is always going to be Texas. They're going to try to around where things are only the way they want them, and that's the arrogance that But having said all that, my thought has always been, you want your friends close and you want your enemies closer. Mm-hmm. So it's better to have Texas in the SEC. And then the good news is that Texas and Oklahoma coming is going to increase the revenue for all the other SEC schools. So there's some good in this.
Yeah, you're right. It's so much better and so much more fun to hate somebody up close than far away. And you just listed off a lot of reasons why people don't like Texas, and I agree with all of them. And then as I'm trying to immerse myself into the Arkansas culture and throughout this week, and truly in Friday's show, being at 11 out of 10 as far as hating everything burnt orange in Texas, all the organization stuff, everything on the field, those are good reasons. But Clay, what's a good reason of why I should hate Texas fans in general? Like, what's the best generalization of why I should hate them?
Arrogance, just their attitude that they're better than you are, and that what they have is nicer and you have nothing, and your state is worthless, and that they'll tell you more like a country, you're more like a province. I mean, those are the kind of comments.
Oh, yeah, just get them started on the Texas Constitution, that they could, secede from the country because it's in there. You get them started on that, you can have a really good time.
Yeah, I mean, the only time, I think I said this on the morning show yesterday, the only time I've rooted for Texas was at the Alamo, and that didn't work out either.
No, it sure didn't.
I mean, they did all right at San Jacinto, so, they rallied, had a comeback victory. But, it is now, I've got a lot of friends in Texas, a lot of good friends, and there's a lot of good people, but Texas fans aren't among them. Let's just put it. Traveled in the off-season weeks, and I say played golf. They played at sunup to sundown.
Competitively, too, I think.
Competitively, yeah. I mean, they were playing for $1 or $2, but not any more than that. The wives shopped together. They stayed in the same place. Those guys. So my dad was involved in some of that. So he very much liked Darrell Royal, and he also liked Jones Ramsey, who was the longtime SID there. Great man. And Jones would come spend a week in the summer with my dad at his house. But he didn't much like the athletic director. I can't remember the name of the guy at the time. Did not like the fans, the attitude that the fans had.
Well, it sounds like Clay would like to make sure that no Texas Longhorns fans would show up at his house to watch the game. Best people to call then, the fencemen. They'll keep him out. They do it all. Large commercial jobs, small residential repairs, wood privacy fence, vinyl fence, commercial or residential chain link, or custom wrought iron fencing. No Longhorn fan will get over your fenceman fence. Plus, 18-month same-as-cash financing is available. 479-782-3936 for the fenceman. He ain't afraid of the Longhorns. Hogs and Horns all week on ESPN Arkansas. It's brought to you by Arvest Bank, by banking services, loans, deposits, treasury management, credit cards, mortgage loans, and mortgage services. Go online to arvest.com, equal housing lender, member FDIC. We still have Clay Henry with us. Clay, let's dig into this matchup with this Texas team a little bit. It's interesting when you look at the makeup of their defense, specifically from the linebackers to their secondary. Their linebacking core has not been together for a very long time. 5 transfer linebackers have come in, and a couple of the guys are they've got a Notre Dame transfer, Ovi Ogufo. He splits time between the buck position and also at linebacker. Overshawn is the guy that's been there for 4 years. Brockmeyer has been there for a couple years. And these are linebackers. It seems that the defense is built around getting lanes for the linebackers to attack, because these are their 3 leading tacklers, and they get to guys behind the line of scrimmage. They did that against Louisiana 7 times last week. I mean, I thought we, had a decent defense in the first half. You're facing a completely different style of athlete this week.
That's true. And if they attack, then those East-West plays that didn't look so good last week might look a little better. If you've got those linebackers trying to shoot those gaps, and getting out wide would be the answer. A friend of mine watched some of their practices about 3 weeks ago and said that they basically want to play fundamentally sound and, say, here we are, come get us, block us, that they didn't look like they took a lot in. Now, that might have been just the 2 days he was there. But this is an experienced coach, and he understands scheme and what they were trying to do. And he said it looked like they had 3 basic plays on offense, that they're very similar in their approach, and that their installation of their offense was not all massive. And I think that's the case of, a lot of times with the new coach. We saw that last year with, of course, Arkansas didn't have spring practice, but it was very basic for most of the year, both Kendall Briles and Barry Odom. And, we saw some of that early on with Chad Morris, where he kept reminding us that he didn't have the full offense in. Their transition years are tough to have to, if they can contain him the way they did the Rice running game, I think Arkansas wins. But that's easier said than done.
Definitely when trying to stop that run, aren't going to have Bumper Pool in full game. And those with Bumper Pool to contain Robinson?
Well, Bumper made 14 tackles, and I think that's a lot. And
it is.
You'd say productivity, that is amazing. I think we have seen vast improvement from Andrew Parker. I thought, early last year when he played, I thought he was a liability. That's not the case now. In fact, I noticed in the spring, I really focused on him in one of the scrimmages. That's all I really was concerned about, because I knew that he was going to be counted on for depth, and I wasn't sure, Hayden Henry was his shoulder going to hold up. That's why he missed spring, is he had shoulder surgery. And you worried a little bit about Grant Morgan's knee, and we haven't seen him play a full game yet. So, he hurt his knee at the end of last season, and is that thing sound? And we're told it is. But you'll know more if you see him play a little bit. But they've got better depth at linebacker, and, they can rotate some guys, and an injury here won't wreck that scheme. And I definitely think Ridgeway helps. His conditioning has probably suffered a little bit when you have an appendectomy. You miss some days of running. That's one thing you can't do when you've had an appendectomy, running. So he'll play some snaps, but I don't think he's going to go out there and play 50 or 60. He'll probably play 20, I'm guessing. But this is a defensive unit that can rely on depth that has not been a strength for Arkansas in the last 5 to 8 years. Arkansas's defense have been so poor late in games because they just were gassed. And I wonder if that might be a trend that's flipped around, where they can turn on things in the second half when they have some rested guys.
Well, and you noticed in that second half that they still were able to generate a good pass rush. You had 8 defensive linemen rotating in. Coach Pittman said it didn't seem to him that there was much of a drop-off, if at all, between the starters and the backup. So, that part of it is huge. And that's got to play pretty big into, one of the things that Texas did against Louisiana was they converted on third down 10 out of 15 times. A lot of that was just based upon Hudson Card's ability to evade the pass rush and find somebody open downfield. He's really tough to get to the ground. And for a freshman to go 10 of 15 on third down, I don't know. There's something about that really stood out.
Yeah, I think a lot of that is, there's some little short passes to Robinson. That's part of their game plan, is figure out different ways to get him the ball. If you slow him down, you've got a chance to win the game. I'm going to say that. I already said it once today. I'll say it again. That is the key. And stop the run and somehow generate some running game. Arkansas historically has not run the ball well on Texas, and it's just because of difference in talent. Texas has got better players. When Arkansas is able to run the ball, that changes that game. And so I think that will be something to watch early. And, if you can run the ball, you do not have to protect your passer, because it's going to be play action. And I say you don't have to. It's playing the run, and they take the fakes, and you have time to throw. And so, on Arkansas side, you got to get better play from your two best players, and I think that's KJ and Traylon. Take your pick on the Traylon. I'm talking about Traylon Burks, but Traylon Smith is a good player too. And I think you've got to get a little bit more from Rocket Sanders. I think he's displayed some abilities that make him valuable in a game like this, where the running game is you're going against bigger, stronger players, and he might be needed.
Yeah, that's actually where I was going to go with the conversation next, Clay. I was going to ask you if you think that it needs to be more of a 50-50 split between Smith and Sanders. Do you think Sanders needs to get that many carries or still hang around the 75-25 mark that we saw last week?
Well, it just depends on if you can be successful. It just, if you can have more drives, yeah. And 3 and outs don't lend themselves to really wearing down a running back where you've got to bring in. But if you can have some longer drives and Traylon starts to get 5 or 6 carries in one drive, well, then the next time you're probably going to bring in Rocket. But yeah, I think that now that's on the offensive line. They've got to help those two guys where Arkansas can run some more plays. But yeah, I think I'm not saying 50-50 should get the bulk of the percent, but I like maybe 2 or 3 more for Rocket. And I think as the season goes along, you're going to see him get more involved in the passing game and other areas.
Now, I want to add another Ketron Jackson Jr. I like that I see him blocking downfield as much as I do. He seems to be physical for somebody that's still in his first year.
Yeah, he got 2 penalties. He got a block in the back on a punt, and he got a holding penalty on KJ's touchdown run that was called back. So he has to understand what's going to be called and when it's going to be called. What you can have your hands on somebody, but once the running back pulls even, you've got to turn loose of that guy. You can't be holding him. He's running away from you. So that's something that he has to learn, and they'll work on that. But he understands the concept of blocking, and that's he's just got to understand when not to block. So, but yeah, I think he's a physical player that has unusual gifts and is going to be a great player for the Razorbacks.
When to block, when not to block, and how to stay out of your quarterback's way when he's about to run all the way for
no
a
question.
Clay, appreciate you, man. Talk to you all.
Always
on the
have
weekend.
Fun with y'all. Thank y'all for asking me.
You got it.
Appreciate
Clay
it, Clay.
Henry from Hawgs Illustrated.
It's that time of the year again, and all eyes are now turning to football as teams are back on the gridiron to start the football season. As always, BetOnline is your #1 spot for all of the pro and college football action this season. Get all of the updated odds, props, and contests, including the online's biggest $500,000 NFL mega contest, the world's largest 200,000 NFL Survivor contest, open now at BetOnline. Here's what you have to do. Head to the website or use your mobile device to sign up today and receive your 100% welcome bonus. Take advantage of their opening day super promo. Make a bet on the Thursday, September 9th season opener between the Super Bowl champion Tampa Bay Buccaneers and the Dallas Cowboys. And if you lose, your wager's going to be refunded for up to $25 for new customers only when signing up and using the promo code NFL100. BetOnline is the fastest and easiest way to bet on all your favorite sports. BetOnline, your online sportsbook experts.